Blake, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jade.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for
Good.
so much for coming on here, especially last minute.
Of course. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I want to kind of talk about how you got started in real estate, how long ago, what's your journey been like so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of got started in real estate. Well, I guess full time I've been doing real estate for about 2.5 years now, a little over 2 years. And I guess I initially got into real estate through a previous venture that my current business partner and I had started back in school when we attended the University of Kansas. And his name is Cooper. So him and I started buying and selling luxury timepieces. And ultimately we were just kind of doing those watch deals, and that's what we were focused on at the time. And I guess long story short, it came to graduating college, and we decided to essentially just take that business full time. And that's what we did. And through doing so, we met people locally that were buying watches from us. And one of our clients actually, he bought a couple pieces from us, and not too much older. Um, than we were at the time. So I was kind of curious how he was affording some, really expensive watches. So I kind of asked him, what he did, and that was the first time I heard of wholesaling real estate. And so obviously, I hopped right into doing some research, looking into what that really was. And I saw a lot of similarities between the deals we were doing with watches. Talking to sellers, doing deals, and selling them, to end buyers and stuff like that. And the similarities with that and wholesale real estate. Um, but I saw a lot more potential with profit margin, and I just kind of knew that we wanted to be involved in real estate. As soon as I started seeing what wholesale was like, I knew that it was the right fit for us, especially with the skills that we had built um, and cultivated through doing watch deals for 2 years prior. Um, and so that's ultimately how we got into real estate. And so now I've been doing it full time for a little over 2 years now.
Really cool. So, are you guys mostly wholesaling?
Yep. So I would say so. The first year was all wholesale. Everything we did was wholesale, and that was really a way for us to learn more about the industry, make the right connections, and get some really good experience. So the first year was strictly wholesale, and then we started to incorporate fix and flips and buy and holds. So now, our priority at this point is buy and holds, but we still do, um, you know, and that's one thing we have to kind of work on is our consistency. But we're typically doing anywhere from 4 to 8 deals a month, consisting of wholesale, fix and flip, and buy and hold at this
Wow.
point. So
That's really awesome. So, are you guys not doing the watch stuff anymore and just
yeah,
strictly real estate?
great question. So we transitioned out of the watch business strictly into real estate. We wanted to put all of our focus into this industry. And what we kind of do now, we just, we buy watches to collect them as more of an investment and just for fun. But we kind of stepped out of the active, buying and selling of watches to just kind of focus on real estate.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I don't think I've ever met anyone that's been in that business. That sounds
Yeah,
interesting.
it was honestly a really prior to actually getting into the business of buying and selling watches, I had no interest or no knowledge of watches whatsoever. Cooper had kind of brought up the business as a potential opportunity that we could partner on and start doing some deals. And that's when I kind of dove into learning more about watches and the history and the mechanics of watches, and then the potential with the connections made within that industry, which is what led us to where we are now. So
Yeah.
definitely a very unique business. It's really hard. I'm not going to lie. Buying and selling watches is it's a grind. And yeah, that's kind of, so I'd agree. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, definitely a niche that is, I'm sure only a few people are in that
Yeah.
interested. So you guys are doing 4 to 8 deals a month. How are you finding those deals? What's your avatar or your strategy right now?
Yeah. So our strategy is primarily direct to seller. Um, that's how we kind of got into learning everything was direct to seller. My first deal was actually a Zillow for sale by owner. So just keeping it simple with that. But at this point we do direct to seller texting and cold calling.
Okay.
And so, yeah. And so as far as avatar, I would say for me, direct to seller, visionary, closer, wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Love it. So you and I had talked a little bit previously about how you house hack, and that's
Hmm.
something I'm really interested in. I'm
Yeah.
currently house hacking. I always love to talk to people because it can be an interesting experience and you can learn a lot in house hacking, and there's also several different ways to do it, right? Like live in
Yeah.
a fourplex or rent out your
Yeah.
bedrooms or different stuff. So I just kind of want to talk about how you started house hacking,
Yeah.
what your setup like.
Absolutely. Yeah, house hacking is an experience for sure. We had been doing watches and wholesale for a bit before we got into hacking our first property. And at that point we were just living in our parents' basements because we had just graduated college and decided to take our business full time. Um, and I would say that, it was primarily just a thought that, okay, we want to, house hack because this is what we do. And, this could be a good way for us to get a property, get out of our parents' basements, stuff like that. But we had a couple friends actually that were interested in, living together and, doing something like that, which is when we kind of took it, a little bit more seriously. And I mean, I would say, like you said, there's so many different ways to go about it. You can do multifamily where you have different units. You can do, rent by room with, bigger houses, stuff like that. And, we didn't really think through anything before we ended up just going for something. Um, Ultimately, I would say I'm incredibly grateful for the setup and the situation that I'm currently in. We have like we're in a nice area. We have a 5 bed, 5 bath property that's 5,000 square feet with a pool and 4 car garage. So like we've got plenty of space, and we ended up just going because we had the idea of living with our friends. We just went the route of renting a room. So that's ultimately what our setup kind of looks like. So
Okay.
yeah,
Talk to me a little bit about how you guys. I feel like, especially in the rent by the room scenario, you have to have like rules in place and
yeah,
boundaries and that type of thing. So it's not
yeah,
like a free for all and who mops the floors, How do
yeah.
you guys go about that and discuss it?
So that's a great question, and definitely something that I was going to say you have to consider if this is kind of like an option that you're going to go with. You really have to understand who are you going to be living with. Are they a good fit? Are they a good fit with the other people that are living here? Um, and as far as like maintenance and cleaning and stuff like that, we try and keep everybody accountable for, if you make a mess, clean it up. If
Yeah.
be accountable. But we also cover, like cleaning every once in a while, like every month or so, we'll have like a routine cleaner come through and, just we'll take care of that. Mowing, we take care of that. So a lot of those recurring responsibilities we will be responsible for just to, take, just make it easier. But as
Yeah.
far as like the day to day stuff, just, no one likes to live in a mess, and we just try and keep everybody accountable and go about it that way.
Yeah.
Now, we're all, for the most part, we're all friends, and so like we get along. But I mean, if you're doing this with other people, definitely kind of go through more of a vetting process with who you might be stepping into that with with.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a multifamily house hack, you don't have to worry as much about that sort of thing because you're in different units. But that's kind of what our situation looks like.
Yeah. How long have you guys been in that situation?
Um, let's see. We closed on the house February 28th of 2022. We renovated the whole house. That took, for us, it was our first project that we actually took on because we were wholesaling up until that point. And that, I would admit, was not the right decision. But, so a couple months after that, we, all moved in. I would say it's been over a year, about a year and a half now that we've all been here. It started out with just me, my business partner, and 2 other guys. So that's 4 rooms. And then we recently, a couple months ago, finished out the basement. And the basement itself is a completely separate, like, to be considered its own livable unit. It's its own
Yeah.
studio. It's got a kitchen, bathroom, walkout basement.
Wow.
But we have another person, so it's 5 of us at this point. But we've been doing this for a little over a year now.
So does the person that have the basement, do they pay a little more than just the people that have
Yep.
room?
So, and that's actually, we definitely, because they're our friends and we wanted to make this, a mutually beneficial situation for everybody. The rent rates that we have are incredibly low, but we did kind of we adjusted the rent rates accordingly for, room size and space and stuff like that. So the basement is huge. It's got its own everything. So that was obviously more. And then the rest of the rooms were kind of just that size.
Yeah.
So,
Are you guys in the position to be like living free essentially, or are you just living cheaper than average rent around?
So with this house, and I mean, there's a ton of mistakes that we made in doing this, especially with this being our first,
Let's talk
way to
about
go about it. You have to kind of think about, if you're house hacking, do you want to, be in a situation where you might be making some money? Do you want to be in a situation where you're break even, or are you willing to have it be a situation where you just have, lower expenses for your living? And that's kind of the situation that we're in, just because of, the cost of the house, renovations and everything. Cooper and I still come out of pocket every month for our living expenses, but with being able to rent out the rooms and do that, it's much less than, any other situation I could even think of, let alone the space and the house and the privacy and all the other benefits that we have in doing this. So our living expenses are very minimal, and the space that we have is ideal.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the mistakes you made and some things you wish you would have done differently in that situation.
Yeah, definitely a lot less cash involved. We, fortunately for us, when we closed in February of 2022, the interest rates were just starting to, pick up. So we got a good rate, but the cash that we put down into the property, the closing costs, that was a relatively significant amount. And then, we bought this as is. So I'll kind of go into some of the background of the deal itself. This house, we bought direct to seller, for sale by owner. Essentially, they actually had it listed on market for a good amount of time prior to us seeing it. And when, by the time I came across it, it was expired. They weren't able to sell it for what they were asking. I saw the pictures, saw the potential, the area, everything about it. And Cooper and I kind of fell in love with, the idea of this big, awesome house. And I was able to, I tried skip tracing them and manually doing that. Wasn't, I didn't have any luck there. I tried reaching out to the previous agent. She actually helped us out with a lot of the information with, previous offers and the situations that they had gone through with listing it. But I ultimately got a hold of the sellers through Facebook, and I actually found them, reached out, and they were still looking to sell because this house was sitting vacant. They moved to Arizona, and that whole time this was just, sitting here, pretty neglected. And so we walked into an as-is, purchase, and with the intention of fully renovating the whole house. And I think our expectations at that point with costs was a lot less than what we really came across. And at that point, we weren't, getting creative with how we were using financing or anything like that. So everything that we did with this property specifically was all cash. Everything from the down payment, the closing costs, the renovations of well over like $100,000, like that was all just cash out of pocket. So that's like, in my opinion, when I look back on that and the amount of cash that we put into this, definitely could have been utilized for other investments, other houses. I look back and I think of, could we have just bought a multifamily property and actually made money with, the house hack? Yes, no, whatever. But, so that's definitely something that I personally, would want to think about next time, is having less cash involved. But everybody's different with that. All the properties that we buy and acquire are with none of our own, like we have no cash out of pocket when we stabilize them. So, but that's something we've kind of learned through with experience. And then another thing with this one in particular that, we kind of made mistakes on was the renovation aspect. This was the first project that we actually took on. So, we didn't know what we were doing. We were our own general contractors. We used Facebook and other referrals to piece all of the different, bathrooms, flooring, windows. We got taken advantage of we got taken advantage of a ton with prices. We got scammed with people that we paid up front to do jobs that just, ran away, ghosted us. So definitely, those are things that we made mistakes with that I would consider moving forward. Or if like you were getting into it, definitely, know more about what it is you're actually getting into, doing more diligence, and we kind of just jumped into it with both feet and just learned as we went, which
Yeah.
ultimately, I'm happy. I wake up every day grateful for what we have and the situation we're in. But those are definitely things that we experienced that could have been either avoided or, at this point we can just learn from it. So
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some lessons in every project, especially first renovation, and that house is huge. So I can only imagine that it
yeah,
was.
we were like, oh, we'll put like 50 to 60 grand into it. Way off. I
Yeah.
didn't even think. I was like, oh, a pool, like that's because it has a pool, and that the pool was vacant, not used for a long time. It's got really old pool equipment, the coping stone, the base, the decking, everything. Essentially had to be redone, and that type of expense came out of nowhere. Because when I looked at the property, I didn't even think about renovating the pool or what that might entail.
Yeah.
Um, so it is all a learning process, but I'm grateful for all the mistakes we made and where it's kind of got us. So yeah.
Yeah. So there were some mistakes, but I'm sure there are some things that you are happy about how it went,
Yeah.
or you're like, I really love house hacking because of X, Y, and Z. What are some of those things?
So like I said, the space that we have, I wouldn't be able to live in a property like this if we didn't house hack it. Um, and getting that experience, the experience itself is priceless. The space that we have, what I really, obviously the biggest benefits are affordability and then the camaraderie. Depending on, it's different for everybody, but for our situation, I'm with people that I like to be around, that I can talk to and say what's up to every day. We've always got stuff going on, and so like I'm never bored. Actually, I enjoy my own solitude, but like I very much appreciate, the people that I get to be around and see every day. So that's something I also really like. Um, and then, long term house hacking wise, I see every property that I would house hack as an opportunity to turn into a long term investment. So, for example, with this house, whenever the time comes, if we decide that we're looking to move, or if we want to have a different living situation, different city, whatever that looks like, this is a property that we've got several different exit strategies that we could utilize. One of them being just continuing to rent it out by the room and move and let it be and let it do its thing. The other exit strategy that we would be able to do is just keep it as a long-term rental. The numbers work out fine that way. It's not like a home run deal as a long-term rental for a single family, but it works. The rent by room is definitely where it would be better utilized. And then, like I said, the basement is its own livable unit. So if we wanted to kind of transition it into a multifamily property, we could do that. But that's so ultimately like long term with house hacking. I look at is this an opportunity that can be turned into a long term investment when I'm no longer looking to stay here. So
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. Is that your plan? Is your plan to keep buying properties that you can house hack, or are you gonna stay here for a while and just kind of move on and do
Yeah,
whatever?
so I don't have any specific plans with what that looks like if my next property or Cooper and I are going to continue to kind of utilize house hacking as something we're going to do with the future. But for now, like this is a situation, and we're in all the deals that I do are in Kansas City, and we're in Kansas City. So I want to say for it's been a year and a half now. I want to say for at least like another year, like this is going to be a good home base for the business that we're doing as we scale into potentially other markets, which we're looking into Florida and Colorado as our next opportunities to do wholesale and flips and other investment
Yeah.
stuff. We're thinking that maybe house hacking is something we can kind of do just to get into those areas, learn more about the properties that we're investing in the areas, or just for fun, moving into we both travel to Denver and Colorado all the time for hiking and snowboarding. So being able to get a place out there and house hack it, whether it's a multifamily or another rent by room situation, that would definitely be a way that we minimize some of our living expenses and still enjoy some of the things that we do out there. Um, So yeah, if that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I house hack as well, and I have for almost 3 years
Yeah.
now. And there's been some lessons, mostly around it's a duplex, so we're in
Mhm.
separate units, but
Yeah.
there's been some lessons around setting boundaries. So,
Hmm.
first tenant I had, I think I was way too friendly and wanted to be like
Yeah.
buddy buddy with her, and she would come knocking on my door at all hours of the night, calling me, texting me, and it was just too much.
Yeah.
And with new tenants, I've set more boundaries, and it's nothing like that at all. What tips and tricks and advice do you have for someone that wants to either go rent by the room or go buy a duplex and do a similar house hack situation?
Yeah, I would definitely say having enough cash reserves to kind of get into the property and then be able to maintain and repair it. Because I think some people get into whether it's house hacking or just home buying in general, they kind of don't think about the
Yeah.
actual expenses that it takes to own property. So that's definitely something I would consider. And then especially with the room by rent situation, this goes for even a multifamily or any tenant situation. Is vetting your tenants and making sure, like you said, having upfront agreements with certain things, making sure things are kind of laid out in the lease, so that if it anything were to get to a litigation standpoint, you've kind of got everything situated. Um, and then, I mean, we just do our best to make sure that everybody, that whether it's our tenants in our other investment properties or our personal property, that everything that we're doing our best to make sure that everyone's happy. So whether we've got to come out of pocket for certain things or fix certain things to make it a better experience for them. I know not everybody goes about rentals that way, but that's how we look at it. So that's maybe something to consider as a piece of advice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the part you said about making sure you have everything in leases with your situation where they're all your good friends, y'all
Mhm.
probably hang out all the time in that situation, do you still have strict leases in place with every single person?
That's a good question. And for our specific situation, we don't, because we want to, we want everything to be really flexible. If they get a different job offer or have to move or whatever that looks like. And honestly, we should have leases, whether we want to be flexible or not. Like we should definitely have leases, and we've thought about it, talked about it. We really haven't incorporated that because these are our good friends. We've really never had a problem with rent, utilities, anything like that. We've never had a problem, so I wouldn't advise doing it that way whatsoever. And I guess it's case by case, but I would definitely suggest utilizing leases for our situation. We don't.
Yeah. With utilities, do you guys just have it all split the bill evenly every month, or how does that go about?
Yep,
Yeah.
our bills are split evenly. Other than when we have another example with the pool, the equipment's so old and it's not energy efficient whatsoever. So when we are running the pool, there's a couple months out of the year, obviously in the summer, when our electric bill itself is like 800 plus just the electric bill. And
Wow.
so when it gets out of hand like that, we'll cover it, because like that's not something I feel like they're obligated to take on.
Yeah.
Some people might see that differently, and then when we fill the pool, that's the water bill is crazy. Stuff like, so like when things kind of get excessive, we'll cap it, and for the most part we'll split it evenly. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
So you guys are house hacking, you're flipping, you're holding. What do you need help with the most in your business right now? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I would say optimizing our systems and being able to delegate some of the things that we are doing, because obviously operating a wholesale business, doing fix and flips and buy and holds, like those are three completely separate businesses, that all have their own day-to-day tasks and their own things that you've got to take care of. And Cooper and I are both very much in the day-to-day with all of them. Him and I are able to separate some of the workload between the two of us. We've got some VAs for you know our wholesale business with outreach and stuff like that, but as far as like lead management, follow-ups, setting appointments, going to appointments, locking deals up, transaction coordinating, dispositions, like everything else is entirely on us. So I think optimizing our systems and being able to delegate some of those things is something that we're definitely needing to improve on. And we're still learning every day on how we want to kind of do that. And I would say the other thing that we're constantly in need of is just private money or funds for the properties that we're acquiring, which we haven't really had an issue with. We really have never had an issue with that, but there's never enough. Like the more we have, the more capacity we have to buy and hold. We've got a couple private money lenders that we've been able to provide some really steady, consistent returns, and successfully completed all those projects and got that situated. So I would say private money is something that we could need, but those are kind of like the things that in our business we're currently at and working on.
So are you needing like a TC, a lead manager, those type of roles?
Yeah, stuff like that. And honestly, just like figuring out what roles we want to hire, who do we want to hire, and how do we want to put them in that role. For me, it's kind of hard because like we've bootstrapped everything with our business. Like I didn't get into Subto, like I mentioned to you, until like maybe 3 months ago. So like none of the actual training with building a business was something that we had kind of experience with, other than just kind of learning as we go and implementing things that we learned from just the internet and talking to other investors.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of learning more about how we want to implement some of those roles and put them into the systems that we currently have, or how to optimize the systems to do that better. We are really, really, really blessed and fortunate to have the opportunity to go to the mastermind event coming up this October. And I think that we're going to be able to, we're at a position where, we can really optimize our learning from that experience with the business that we currently have. And that's right where we're at and the information that we need.
Yep.
So I'm very much looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's really exciting. It's coming up quick.
Yeah, it is. So we're trying to do our homework and make sure we have the right expectations going into it, and being able to ask the right questions and answer the right questions so that we can kind of level up through that experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, but so you mentioned you've been house hacking for 3 years now. What's that, I guess, kind of look like for you? Just out of my own curiosity, have you just been doing that like each year, or what has that experience been?
Yeah, no, I've been in the same property for the past 3 years, and I'm actually looking for another either duplex or triplex or something right now to move into. And the plan is just to, move out and keep this one, and it'll cash flow really well. We bought it in early 2021, so our interest rate's like 3-something%. Like we'll cash flow really well. So yeah, I'm looking to keep doing it. I really like it. I think is the key is obviously to get the right tenants, because even though you're in separate units, I mean, we run into each other all the time. You're living right wall to wall to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I mentioned before, the first tenant we had some issues with, and that's not fun having to like be stressed out in your own property, or like you're walking outside and have to run into them when you don't want to talk to them or whatever. So I've learned a lot with it, and we've learned how to pick better tenants. But yeah, my plan is to keep house hacking for probably the next several years, as long as I can find something.
Yeah,
I like the strategy a lot. I like the idea of stacking up on multifamily properties like that. I like the idea of saving. Like, we're not living for free, but we're living for quite a bit lower than we would if we were to go rent.
Yeah.
So I like it for several reasons, and I'm always interested to hear other people that do it and their experiences with it. So I'm really glad I got to talk to you about that. I think the rent by the room scenario is interesting. I don't know if it's something I could ever do. I'm very about my space, but I think it saves a lot of money and can be, a smart strategy, especially when you're, young, don't have kids, and that type of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I wasn't like, if I wasn't so young and my life wasn't how it is, it wouldn't be the same. Like, this type of situation would be a lot less enjoyment and more stress, I feel like. But right now, for me in my current life, it's more of the enjoyment and a lot less stress. And what we did with this property, we were able to convert two of the rooms into another master. So we've got two masters, so one for Cooper and one for I. And like I think that this house hacking situation is super unique, and I wouldn't really like recommend it unless you had like the right pieces in place. Like we already had friends that we knew wanted to kind of be in a situation like this. So if it weren't for that, I definitely would have looked more into the multifamily route. Um, like you did, and being able to have my own unit. But like I was able to set my room up like its own studio apartment as well. So like
Yeah.
I mean it's I feel like that is more situational. But yeah, renting by the room is definitely um it it can be, I mean, yeah, it just depends on who you're with, honestly. So
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll become more popular just because of lack of affordability. I think
mhm,
a lot of people like like pad split. I don't know if you've
yeah,
heard much about that, but that's becoming really popular. And I think that just house hacking in the room situation is going to be really popular for people that can't afford apartments when rents, I think the average
yeah,
rent's like $2,000 a month
yeah,
now. And that's just crazy for a lot of people. So I think you're going to be seeing a lot more people wanting to rent out just a bedroom, so it's interesting.
100%. Yeah. And then the other thing that like, we were, thinking of as options was, keeping this as like a home base and looking into, those other two markets that I mentioned, but doing more of like, I guess, the vacation style rental or like short term rental in which, we buy a property that we like in the area that we like, and we're able to kind of go to it whenever, we see fit or whenever we want to go back to that area and have it be our base in that particular area, but be able to rent it out short term or midterm, to keep it, cash flowing and or breaking even, whatever that looks like. So I think that's another, I guess, unique thing that, we're kind of looking to do with our future outside of this personal property.
Yeah, I
So
like that a lot. I would like to do that as well as buy
yeah,
properties, go travel, find the places you like, buy a property, and you can go visit anytime, but you're making money off of it. I love that strategy.
yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something that we're looking to either do something like that or house hack. Wherever we decide to do that. But
Yeah. Do you guys have a buy box that you could share and maybe have people bring you some deals?
yeah, absolutely. So, as far as our markets right now, we're very focused on Kansas City. Like everything that we've done, wholesale, flip, buy and hold, like our whole portfolio thus far is in Kansas City. So I guess any deals that are in Kansas City, cash or creative. If it's cash, we're looking to be all in around 70 to 75% of the ARV. If it's multifamily, I just would have to look at the numbers and kind of break down with our financing what we could kind of make sense. If it's creative, I'm really open to just about anything as long as I can make the numbers make sense. And then as far as other markets, like I mentioned, we're looking to get into Florida and Colorado. With Florida, more specifically, we're looking at Central and South Florida. So like anywhere in like Tampa, that's somewhere we're looking at as well. Cash or creative. And then in Colorado to kind of specify areas out there. More in the Denver and Colorado Springs area, potentially Pueblo as well. But yeah, those are kind of some of the areas, and I guess when it comes to like our buy box with numbers, it just kind of comes down to it's different for cash and creative, but like I'm really open to looking at anything, any price point, any condition, just because we have different exit strategies, different buyers that we work with if it's not a good fit for us.
Yeah.
So I'm really just kind of a broad pie box, which I think that it would be beneficial for us to um, specify it a little bit more to have the right opportunities. But for right now, we kind of just look at everything that might make sense. So
Yeah. Awesome. So if anyone finds deals in those areas or has a lead that they think you might be interested in, where's the best place to reach you?
yeah, so you can either, I guess, best place to reach me is either Instagram or Facebook. Both of those would be Blake Priebe.
Okay.
Um, and then, Cooper and I have a shared Instagram account at bc.holdings. And that, up until just now, has been like our watch account, which we were like posting all of our watch pictures and watch deals and stuff like that. And for the last 2 years, I mean, we really haven't done any social media presence with real estate. We haven't done any like the networking and social media is something that like I'm just now kind of getting into, but like we didn't do any of that. So BC Holdings is what we're transitioning into our real estate page. I'm on YouTube at Blake Priebe as well. I'm just starting to get that going. Or if you want to, I would just, Instagram or Facebook at Blake Priebe is the easiest place to start. So
Love it. Love it. Well, if you guys have any deals in those areas or anything that, you think Blake might be able to help you with, reach out to him. Is there anything else you would like people to know?
I mean, I was going to say, I'm more than happy to, like, even if it's not like a particular deal that you have in mind, if it's a seller that might be just a cold lead, I'm more than happy to, help with talking to sellers, talking terms, closing deals, helping with acquisitions. We've got another guy in Subto that, he's finding lots of like cold leads in Kansas City through his marketing. And he doesn't have boots on the ground or anything like that. So I'm kind of helping him with, the negotiating aspect and then getting into the properties and seeing them and helping with the buyers on that end, or if we're going to be an end buyer. So, anything I can help out with in that regard, I'm more than happy to do so as well.
Amazing. I love that.
And I was going to mention any buyers in any of those places, especially the ones that, we're kind of branching out into with Florida and Colorado. We're definitely looking to make connections with other buyers that we can either provide deals, partner with, or just learn from in general. So,
yeah. Absolutely. Well, you have a lot to offer. You sound really knowledgeable. You guys are crushing it and have only been in the game a short amount of time. So it'll be really exciting to see what you guys do. And I hope that a lot of people reach out to you and you get some deals done.
Well, I appreciate that very much. It was awesome to connect with you, Jade, and I really appreciate you setting this up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye, guys.